American Top 40.
Well, now on AT40, it's time for the current smash by the English artist whose greatest ambition originally was to be a designer of fine stained glass. But he never made it. Instead, he had to settle for a reputation as one of the world's greatest rock guitarists. Here's the way he tells it. I had planned to be a stained glass designer, but I got thrown out of school when I was 17 for fooling around with a guitar. I didn't know what to do, so I asked my family to buy an electric guitar for me, which they had to get on the installment plan. It became clear I'd have to make a go of it. End of quote. Well, not only did he make a go of it, he earned himself a reputation as one of the world's greatest rock guitarists. A couple of months ago, he went to number 1 with I Shot the Sheriff, and this week he's up to number 32 with his current hit, Willie and the Hand Jive. Here's Eric Clapton.
American Top 40.
Well, it's time now for the current hit by a superstar who nearly paid the highest price of all for his success. He hit the peak of his profession, racking up hit records, pulling in top money, and earning a reputation as the most important guitarist in rock music. But he says, and I quote, "I guess I've always backed down from incredible superstardom, only I don't know which I'm scared of, success or failure. Probably both." End of quote. The man I'm talking about is Eric Clapton.
If I can reach the stars.
And you know, after several years of building that tremendous reputation with legendary groups like the Yardbirds and Cream and Derek and the Dominoes, Eric was as well known for his shyness and inability to cope with success as he was for his guitar playing. And it was that weakness that caused him to look for an escape from the pressures that huge success brought. He turned to hard drugs. He says for 3 years he was hooked on heroin, an addiction that kept him locked up in his London home, unable to face people or to play music. It was only his will to live and to kick that habit that finally saved Eric Clapton's life. With the help of his friends and doctors and a month that he spent in the fresh air baling hay and driving a tractor on a friend's farm in Wales, Eric Clapton pulled himself together and put hard drugs behind. When it was over, he taught himself to play the guitar all over again. Went into the studio, and he came up with a number 1 smash, I Shot the Sheriff. That was a couple of years ago. Currently, he's on his way back up to 40 with his latest hit. At number 29, Eric Clapton with Hello, Old Friend.
American Top 40.
Hi, Mark Elliott. Kasem is on vacation this week. He'll be back next week. In show business, it's a psychological fact of life that the bigger a star becomes, the more insecure he gets. Now, this isn't true of everybody, but it is common. It's as though the individual is thinking, how can I possibly be as talented as people are telling me I am? It just can't be true. Well, that's what Eric Clapton was going through a few years ago. He is unquestionably among the 5 greatest guitarists in the history of rock and roll, and a lot of critics regard him as number 1. Well, after he reached that high level of fame, Eric said, quote, "I'm thought of as a lead guitarist, and that's not me. I'm just an unskilled laborer musician who finds it difficult to get in tune, let alone play lead guitar solos." Sounds like false modesty, doesn't it? But it's really insecurity. Once, in 1973, at the famous Rainbow in London, a packed house was waiting to hear Clapton play. And they had to wait 45 minutes past showtime, while Eric sat outside in his car, too uptight and too insecure about being able to deliver. Finally, he got his head together, went into the club, walked out on stage to a standing ovation, and proceeded to bring the house down with his brilliant playing. When he finished, the audience brought him back for 4 encores. They wanted more, but that's all he answered. And he felt that even that was too self-indulgent. What are you gonna do?
I'm Kasem, and this is AT40's worldwide presentation of the year's biggest hits. We're up to a song now by a superstar British guitarist whose biggest chart success has been as a solo act with his own band, and who also has hit the top 40 as a member of such groups as the Yardbirds, the legendary Cream, and Derek and the Dominoes. His present billing is Eric Clapton and his band, and his hit holds the number 71 position among the top 100 hits of the year. Here's Eric Clapton and his band with I Can't Stand It.
If we told
Here's the second hit from the latest solo album by Phil Collins. Phil says when he was working on this album, his friend, guitarist, legend Eric Clapton said, "How come you never asked me to play on your records?" So Phil picked this song for him. Eric Clapton plays the lead guitar and also co-stars in the video. Up 4 notches to number 15, here's I Wish It Would Rain Down by Phil Collins.
Casey's Top 40.
On Casey's Top 40, I'm David Perry for Casey Kasem. Now we're up to our highest debut. It's by Eric Clapton, a British rock star who's famous for his encyclopedic album collection of the blues.
It's late in the evening. She's wondering what...
This legendary guitar player, songwriter, and singer has done as much to introduce the blues to a rock audience as anyone in history. In fact, he learned to play guitar by listening to old recordings of blues legends like John Lee Hooker, Freddie King, B.B. King, Big Bill Broonzy, and Robert Johnson. Over the years, Eric has collected hundreds of records by those blues legends, and these days he's said to have one of the great blues record collections in the world. Several years ago, Eric was asked if he had to whittle his collection down to just a couple of truly great records, which would they be? Well, his choices would be a collection of the best of 2 Chicago blues guitar greats, Muddy Waters and Little Walter. The humble superstar says nothing he's done compares with what they did every day, though he does keep trying. And this week, Eric's latest single enters our survey as the highest of our 3 debuts. It's a song from his upcoming CD titled Pilgrim. At number 33 on Casey's Top 40, here's Eric Clapton with My Father's Eyes.
American Top
2 years ago this week, one of the top hits in the USA was by a superstar who's been described as the Forrest Gump of rock. At just about every momentous point in rock history, he's been there. At the height of the British musical invasion of America, he was a member of the Yardbirds and John Mayall's Blues Breakers. When rock went psychedelic, he was there as a member of Cream and Blind Faith. When the Beatles split up, he was there playing with John Lennon's Plastic Ono Band. At the dawn of the great age of guitar rock, he was there with Derek and the Dominoes. When reggae came on the scene, he jumped right in with his version of I Shot the Sheriff. And he gave us one of the themes of the introspective early 90s, his song Tears in Heaven. 2 years ago this week, the changeable Eric Clapton had one of the top hits in the USA. Here's Change the World.
If I can reach the stars.
America's Top Hits.
This week back in 1998, one of the top hits in the USA was a smash by Eric Clapton, who once gave up on playing the instrument that eventually made him a star. Growing up in the small town of Ripley, England, Eric says when it came to playing the guitar, quote, I couldn't get the hang of it. I tried and tried, but got nowhere with it. And so Eric put his guitar down and tried his hand as a graphic artist. But because Eric was terribly shy around girls, he decided to give the guitar one more try. He says, it helped me meet people. Eventually, the guitar became his life. And this week, back in 1998, Eric Clapton had one of the top hits in the USA. Here's My Father's Eyes.
America's Top Hits.
This week back in 1996, one of the top hits in the USA was Change the World. It's by a superstar who flunked out of art school because he was spending every night in the basement of a London tea shop. In his late teens, this guitar legend enrolled in the Kingston College of Art in London. By day, he studied stained glass design, but instead of spending his nights working on art projects, this man went to a blues club in a basement room below the ABC tea shop in London. He spent his nights playing guitar instead of working on art projects, and so he was invited to leave art school, which was fine with him because he was ready to become a musician who had one of the top hits in the USA this week back in 1996. Eric Clapton with Change the World.
American Top 10.
We have 'em, all the chart stars, all the chart action. Now, we're up to an American Top 10 extra by Eric Clapton, a superstar whose staff includes a full-time guitar cleaner. Eric has been playing guitar for nearly 50 years, and for most of those years, he's been a legend, one of the greatest guitar players of all time. Over the years, Eric has amassed a guitar collection nearly as legendary as he himself. At one time, it numbered 2,000 guitars. The guitars are stored in a climate-controlled warehouse, and to watch over them, Eric has a full-time guitar specialist named Lee Dixon. His job is to make sure the instruments are oiled, polished and properly stored. And though Eric's collection is down to a mere 750 guitars, that still keeps his guitar curator very busy. Now, with an extra, here's Eric Clapton with a hit that showcases his playing from 1992, the MTV Unplugged version of Layla.